Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. I know, trying to cram 8 wines into one of these videos again. Trying to cram 8 wines, I think I deserve. It's Christmas coming up soon. Maybe I'll treat myself to a larger table rather than these 2 little IKEA jobbies. Anyway, I have got 8 spicy southern reds today. 2 of them are from Spain. I think not quite the first and the last, but the rest of them are southern France. There's a Rhone one, but mostly Languedoc, I think, for the rest of them. Let's just dig in. First one is Les Grands Chemins, Carignan Vieilles Vignes from the Pays d'Hérault. I think the first 5 are all, well, most of them are 2011 vintage. Anyway, if I forget to say, it's probably 2011. Let's give this one a whirl. There's this like boiled vanilla smell. Now I'm not quite sure where that comes from. I think of Carignan, and I think of Carignan as being sometimes quite a bit savage. And if you over-ripen it, it goes raisin. If you get it on the right side, it gets this herbiness and these violets. Here, there's this muddy vanilla. I'm not sure where that's from. But for me, it misses out on the Carignan spikiness. It's trying to be just like a little bit too smooth, and in an effort to be smooth, has been rendered with the absence of character. Next one, GSM, Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre. Looks like it's going to be a French wine, but no. Look on the back and it says grapes grown in Valencia, and it's been made by award-winning winemaker Pablo. Oh, there's a strange smell there. You know when you're having your teeth drilled at the dentist and there's that smell of burnt tooth? I get that here, which isn't something I necessarily want to smell in a wine. But beyond there are some berries. It's funny. It doesn't feel like a French wine at all. It feels like it's got this Spanish heat about it. And yes, the Languedoc is hot, but it's a different sort of heat you get in southern Spain. Rounded, juicy, simple. But let's see whether I get burnt teeth when I put it on my unburnt teeth. Well, Pablo seems to have done a reasonable job there. Juicy, plump, maybe in an effort to try and keep it just a little bit too fresh, he's maybe added a little bit too much acidity, I'm not sure, because it starts off well and then the finish goes that little bit too hard and you're left with something that is sweet but hard, but sounds like a recalcitrant humbug, but slightly better than that. Try wine number 3. Which is, it's got a picture of a pig on, it's bound to be good. Actually, it's not a pig, it's Le Sanglier Sauvage, wild boar. Hommage à la Bête, 2011, from the Côte de Languedoc. I thought the Côte de Languedoc was disappearing and you had to just put Languedoc on wines now, and anyway. The French appellation laws, don't you just love them? Grapes here doesn't really give all that much away, but I imagine we're in with the usual suspects. Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre, Carignan, maybe some Sanso, and various proportions thereof. Well, there's this blackcurrant and violet edge here, which makes me wonder whether the Carignan-y character I was missing on the first one makes me wonder whether there's a little bit of Carignan here. That's when you find out, of course, that character is actually reduced Syrah. But there's this spicy, earthy blackcurrant with a freshness about it. It feels like it's going to have a juiciness and a gluggability, a sausage friendliness ability, if that's a word. It is now. But it smells like it's going to be the best so far. Yes, there's a warmth and a spiciness about that. Then there's also this cool herbiness, and the 2 sit together very nicely. So it's not a profound wine by any means, but there's this juicy sappiness. So there's a ripeness about the fruit. So there's the plums, there's the brambles, and then there's this fresh herbiness, notes of pepper, and I really do like that. The sort of wine that, if yes, we're in the middle of a rather beautiful chilly day, end of November here, but if it was 6 months from now and it was a beautiful chilly, it probably will be a beautiful chilly day at the end of May, but a beautiful warm summer's day, I'd almost be tempted to stick that in the fridge for 20 minutes or so, just to give it a little bit of perk up the freshness. Not that it lacks freshness anyway, but tasty wine. Number 4, Réserve Combe from Saint-Chinian, and let's give this one a whirl. I'm coming across quite a few wines at the moment where you're really struggling to find out who's actually made the wine. I mean, that GSM, it just says GSM on there, but Réserve Combe, les producteurs réunis, so a co-op in other words. not all that much leaping out of the glass here. I think the previous one, because of that perky freshness, maybe has said to this one, look, go on, follow that. It smells okay. There is some of that earthy, garrigi spice, and there is some rounded, quite plush fruit, but it just feels a little bit stolid after the previous one, or at least that's how it smells. Then when you come to taste it, he said, proving himself entirely wrong. Actually, I quite like that. There's this herby, sappy, peppery spiciness that suddenly springs into life. And I don't know whether there's a lot of Syrah in there, but I'm getting this blackcurrant, blackberry, orange peel character, which makes me think of the Syrah. And yes, a rich earthy freshness. It could just be that the previous one is one that's sort of like straining at the leash now, whereas this one is a little bit more reticent and reluctant to show its true colours. But I've got a feeling that given a bit of time, it will show its true colours. It just feels like a wine in waiting. So buy it. I mean, what time is it now? 3:15. I think if I were to leave the bottle sitting there and try it at 7 o'clock, might be a different picture. Not entirely, but I think it might have come out of its shell. So I think I'll do that, and I will report back, but I'll have another swig. Oh dear. I'm actually starting to like it more than the one before. Oh, you shouldn't change your mind, should you? I like them both. Horses for courses. Let's see whether this is a horse or whether it is a course. Les Jamel Réserve Mourvèdre Van der Pey Dock. I thought you couldn't put Van der Pey Dock now. I thought you had to be IGP Dock, but anyway, this one still proudly carries the Van der Pey label. 2011, apparently winner of a regional trophy at the Decanter Wine Awards. So, expecting a lot from this. Dark, earthy, plummy. It feels like there's a core of something which is saying, not today, come back tomorrow, and I will reveal a few more of my true colours there. Then it feels like it's sometimes Mourvèdre can be a bit stinky. Don't find any of that stink here, but I do find something that feels a little bit stubborn, and so maybe I'll give it a bit more of a swirl before I taste it. There's a floral character there, but there's also this. I was talking about that false vanilla character on the on wine number 1. I get that same thing here. As if the way in which it's been made, I don't know, it's something to do with vinification, but yeah, it's like as if someone's put slightly cold Nescafe in there. Vanilla. I'm not quite sure how that got a trophy. It's okay, and there's this big fruit there, and maybe it will come out of its shell, but on this showing, it's a bit disappointing. Yeah, it feels like someone's been making wine to try and make something a little bit softer and friendlier, and in the process has got rid of the character in the wine. Oh well. Wine number 6, are we on? Mítico by Borsal. Old Vines Garnacha from Campo de Borja, is it? I can't see it. Does it say Campo de Borja? Yeah, it does say Campo de Borja on here. 2011. And I usually like these people's wines, so let's see whether this lives up to my expectations. Yeah, this is ripe and spicy in all the right places. It's got this just ever so slight jamminess about it. It feels like the fruit's got very ripe and started to shrivel a little bit, but not too much. And picked up lots of character. You can almost like taste the dustiness, smell dustiness of the soil and the herbiness of the surrounds. It feels like a bit of a wild, slightly hairy-chested wine. And let's just see whether it is. Juicy Friendly Glugger. I'm not sure. I mean, they do several bottlings of this, and some of them end up under £5. And or they used to, certainly. I don't know whether they still do, but pretty reliable. They do some higher end cuvées, and you know what? I never think they're quite as good as some other people think they are. I actually like the cheaper ones better, where it's like as if they're not trying too hard to impress you. But it's just this lovely, open, friendly, spicy. It's one of those things that'll put his arm around you and then take you to a seedy dive, and you'll have a good evening. But you probably shouldn't tell people about it the following morning. I like that. Yeah, some of their wines finish a bit more rounded and open than this one. Got a suspicion that this one, I can almost feel that some tannins in there, and I don't know whether it's been in oak or something like that. But if it has, they've handled it pretty well, and it could be. Yeah, it feels almost like is more of a wine waiting to pounce. 2011 vintage, I think. Yeah. So it could be that 6 months' time it'll come out of its shell even more, but it's looking pretty smart today. The last 2011 is Les Clef. I never quite know in France whether you say Les Clés. This has certainly got an F in. Les Clés Cross Keys, Châteauneuf du Pape 2011, and this is the Co-op's own bottling done for them by Ogier. Well, I smell it, and I don't get too much Châteauneuf du Papety about it. If anything, it smells. The thing it reminds me of, there's I get this almost sandy baked character that reminds me of South Africa as much as anything. I don't know whether I mean, South Africa's got quite a bit of Sanso. I don't know whether there's a characteristic that has been transferred here. But I don't know if it says Châteauneuf du Pape on the label. I'm expecting a little bit more than what seems to be here. Let's taste it. There is a bit more substance there when you come to taste it. Rounded, plummy, but with this juiciness and the freshness about it. Herbs, spices, and a floral character. Something quite exotic as well. Not quite sure what it could be. It feels it feels like one of those lychee almost. Strange to find something like that in a red wine, but there is something. It's one of those exotic fruits in here. But as I suspected when I smelt it, it's if I'm buying a bottle of Châteauneuf du Pape, I want a little bit more experience than that wine is giving me. It's very nice, and if it said Côte du Rhône Village on the label, I'd be probably jumping up and down and saying this is really good. But I don't know, I expect a bit more from Châteauneuf du Pape. It's good, but it doesn't do Châteauneuf du Pape many favours. Let's try the final wine. Let's see whether this does Priorat any favours. So this is Torres Salmos 2009 Priorat. So back in Spain, one of the appellations of Spain. Let's see whether it delivers one of the experiences of this particular octet. Well, certainly a lot more character than most of the wines that have gone before. But I get a bit of volatility. I get a little bit of a slightly dank, what I call Rioja-like wood about it, old-style Rioja wood, that is, it's like playing with the fruit and saying, right, okay, having a bit of a tussle. And sometimes those wines that have this tussle, they end up making friends, and it ends up being a very, very successful wine. And sometimes they sit there apart and end up sulky, and often the wood says, well, I told you so. But here, I better taste it, haven't I? It smells intriguing, and it smells like one of those wines that I want to almost like watch over the course of several hours and see how it develops and how it comes out of its shell. Powerful, heady, rich, and yeah, the fruit is more than able to cope with any characteristics that are coming from the oak aging. And it's got this lovely thing. It's got the ripe juiciness of I don't know what the blend is here, but it feels like there's the Garnacha that's giving this heartiness and this slightly fiery character, and then there's the Carignana that is adding in. It feels like the Carignana has gone quite ripe, so it's gone slightly raisiny, but it's adding this slightly spiky edge as well. Not sure whether they've added other grape varieties in there as well, but it feels more not too modern, not too old-fashioned. It feels like a wine that I'm very happy to sit down and watch over the course of the evening, and particularly if I were accompanied by large pieces of meat to entertain myself. But I'm always in two minds about wines like this. Should I keep them? I've tried keeping some of them, and some of them just go too raisiny, and the tannin and the structure just never recede, and the fruit sort of struggles to get out. But others, the terroir really does come through in the end. Here I'm getting the fruit, and I'm getting this earthiness of the terroir coming through. So I would, if I had two bottles, I'd probably drink one in the next 6 months and drink one maybe 2 or 3 years from now, and it may be that 2 or 3 years from now I'm disappointed that I haven't got a third bottle to keep for another few years. But probably a favourite of the tasting, although these numbers 3 and 4, I will be keeping an eye on those because they intrigue me, and that's what I want from wine. I want intrigue. See you soon.